Yeah.
But I said, if you gave me Mahomes, if you gave me Lamar Jackson with his great legs and Mahomes' great arm, or you give me Baker Mayfield, who would I want? I would want Baker Mayfield, and the reason why is because Baker Mayfield.
I really think that now this is the worst case scenario for the San Francisco 49ers is that they're going to have to cut ties with Jimmy Garoppolo if I were them.
What?
Oh my God! Whoa, man!
In any event, Kyle Gibson is definitely my NL Cy Young Award winner. Rock on, Gibby.
And even
Oh
if
my!
you,
No way! Oh my God!
Hello, everyone. I hope everybody's having a fine Friday night. Welcome to the debut of Sports Weekly alongside Isaiah Leong and Shardo Gupta. My name is LoroAntonio, and first of many new episodes that we're going to be providing for you all here on the IM6 network, and it's the start of a new era as this is going to be similar to what Wild Sports Talk is about. But Sports Weekly, I think it's going to be even better than Wild Sports Talk, you know? You never know here. So, Isaiah, how are you doing, my friend? I mean, you got both Seattle Mariners and Miami Heat shirts.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Sports Weekly, man, we've been talking about this show. We've been planning it for a while now. So just to see it come to fruition is so great to see. I'm back from Seattle. I just got back. I got my Mariners cap on right now, which I got from a local store next to T-Mobile Park. I have everything AL West related. I have Astro shirt. I have an A's shirt. I have Angel stuff. I have Rangers shirt. All I was missing was the Seattle Mariners, something from Seattle Mariners, and I finally got it. I made it my mission to go to Seattle and get something Mariners related back. Finally came back with this nice looking hat. This the gray or the silver on the S is pretty shiny, so that's pretty cool. But great to be back from Seattle, and looking forward to the first of many episodes of Sports Weekly in what should be a very, very great show.
I think Ben Curse is going to be on here by the time we get to baseball. So, Chardol, how's it going tonight? And I mean, you look pretty good here. I mean, nice button-up shirt. You're ready to go.
Laura, I'm really excited to be part of this new Sports Weekly show. I'm really excited to hear all the hot takes that you have to say in the world of sports, but I'm really excited to get this new show underway.
I am too. So Casey King, we got a comment from him. He chimes in and says hello as he's tuning in from Gilbert, Arizona. We'll pull up that comment right now. There it is, Casey. I mean, he is always a loyal viewer of our shows, and we appreciate that because Casey King is definitely one of the loyal viewers of this program. But we have breaking news to talk about here is that the creator and legendary CEO of WWE, Vince McMahon, announced that he was retiring from the company on Friday, amidst being embroiled in a scandal that he had an affair with a WWE worker. Isaiah, I'll start with you. What was your thoughts and takeaways on this news surrounding Vince McMahon?
I'll give you guys a backstory of where I was when I got the news that he retired. I was actually departing Alaska Airlines University, and I got a text on my phone, or I got a notification on Twitter that Vince McMahon, from his Twitter page, he said that I'm retiring. I'm 77 now, and then something with always, or it's been fun, past, present, together forever, something like that. And at first, I thought it was something from the WWE scene. I thought it was something from the script, but then you saw the reports coming out that, oh, okay, this is actually for real. That Vince McMahon is actually retiring from the WWE, and I was really stunned because I know that he's been the face of that company for a long time. In fact, he created the company. He created that company. He brought that company from something that wasn't really known. It was more of a gamble back in like the late 70s and 80s into the multi-billion-dollar corporation that it is right now. So I was really stunned by it. It reminded me of that announcement that I got when Kobe Bryant retired from the Lakers. It's like you expect him to go on and on and on and on and on forever, and then you see it and it just hits you like, wow, Vince McMahon just retired from the WWE. Like, I can't believe it. That's how I felt when Kobe retired. That's how I felt today when I got the news that Vince McMahon is retiring. It's stunning. But after reading some of the information about the scandal, I just think he just didn't have a choice to retire. It was kind of like a forced retirement, because if you see and read the reports from the scandal, and we're not really going to get much into the scandal itself, but he did a lot of bad stuff, including cheating on his wife with a former WWE employee. So he was already under investigation. So I'm not surprised that he resigned, but when you do get that message, it's like, dang, man, Vince McMahon, the face of the WWE, the guy that created this company, the guy that when you think about the WWE, you think about Vince McMahon. That billion-dollar man, he is retiring. It's stunning, but after reading more into it, I was not surprised, because there was a lot of bad allegations that surrounded him.
Yeah, I think that, we're not going to get too much into this, Chardo. You have any thoughts on this before we move on to talk some football here? Chardo, you're on mute.
So I was also stunned when I heard that Vince McMahon retired from the WWE, because he's the face of this franchise. And he should be ashamed of all the allegations that have been put against him, and he should have retired, because nobody wants to see somebody commit those heinous acts in the world of WWE professional wrestling.
Yeah, I think that, I think it was a little bit of a surprise for him to retire, but we'll see. So back to the comment section here is that Ben Kerr says that he can't wait for this new show. He still has to digest about the Boston Red Sox after getting shellacked by the Toronto Blue Jays. But he's going to be on soon, and he's going to have to be facing us when we ask him that. And he is not going to be a happy camper tonight, because the Red Sox got embarrassed. The Blue Jays played like that they were just pissed off of letting go Charlie Montoyo. And maybe John Schneider, their interim manager, might give them a new voice in the clubhouse. So that subject will be discussed in just a matter of minutes. Anyways, let's talk about football here. As Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals agreed on a record-breaking 5-year, $230 million extension, which includes $165 million in guaranteed money. And also, that makes him the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL behind Aaron Rodgers and puts him ahead of Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, and Deshaun Watson. You know what my reaction to this extension is? I think this was a good thing, and I knew it was going to happen because the Cardinals are building their team around Kyler Murray for the future. I think the Cardinals are going to be great, especially on the offensive side of the ball. You give him Hollywood Brown, his former college teammate, at Oklahoma. And man, you talk about a high-flying offense for the Cardinals, especially Kyler Murray throwing the ball downfield to Hollywood Brown, throwing it to DeAndre Hopkins. And I think this was a good thing that Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury are going to be sticking around in the long run. And basically, Michael Bidwell, the Cardinals owner, was like, I believe in you, Steve Keim. I believe in you, Cliff Kingsbury. I believe in you, Kyler Murray. We want to win with you at the helm at starting quarterback right now. And I think the Cardinals, to me, I think they're a team that I could see challenging the Los Angeles Rams in the NFC West over teams like over San Fran, who I'm not going to count out because of their defense. And I can't wait to see what Trey Lance is going to do. And with Seattle, they might be 50-50. As I talked about on an earlier show, that this could mean that Pete Carroll could be on the hot seat heading into this season. And if Seattle has another losing season, then that will be the end for Pete Carroll in Seattle, which I hope it's not. I like Pete Carroll a lot. I think he's a great NFL coach. I mean, he's been in the pro level before. He's been a fixture at USC, and I would hate to see him leave like that. I think Pete Carroll is still the right man to lead Seattle in the future. I think if you look at it here, Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray are a match made in heaven. I think Kyle Shanahan and Trey Lance are also going to be a match made in heaven. I also think Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay are already a match made in heaven. I'm going to start with you, Isaiah. Both Chardoles and Isaiah's Niners have to deal with Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury a lot these next 5 or 8 years from now. And basically, you're going to see a lot of high-scoring games between the 49ers and the Cardinals. Isaiah, what is your thoughts and reaction to Kyler Murray getting that extension? And I think, you know what? He proves to me that he is the right guy to be their quarterback of the future for Arizona.
My reaction to it was, wow, I can't believe the amount of money that Kyler Murray got, because you're talking about where he now ranks when it comes to like highest paying quarterbacks in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers is number one, and then you have Kyler Murray sitting right there at number two, ahead of guys like Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, not to mention him, and also you have other guys on that list, even Lamar Jackson as well. So obviously Kyler probably will get, high stepped on this list by those guys soon because they're going to get their extensions. But this was a no-brainer for Arizona. You had to pay him because if you look at his numbers, he's a playmaker. He's a dynamic playmaker ever since he came into the NFL. You know, in 2 years, he's thrown for 11,480 yards, 70 touchdowns, 34 interceptions. And, you know, everybody says that, oh, Cliff Kingsbury's not a good coach and stuff like that. Well, you have to stick with Cliff Kingsbury because him and Kyler Murray are married together pretty much, you know, because the reason why they got Kyler was because of Cliff. Cliff knows the playing style of Kyler Murray. Cliff knows the offense that Kyler likes to play in, and also Kyler, he thrives in that offense that Cliff runs, that air raid style of offense. If you take that away and you put him in like a pro style offense, he is not going to be the same player. So you have to keep that duo along for however long you can keep them around. So I thought it was a smart move by Arizona. Listen, the money, it's big now. I think he's going to get over like $49 million a year. That's huge. But that's the growing rate for what a quarterback gets paid nowadays in the NFL. And it's just going to keep getting up and up and up and up. And soon you're going to have a quarterback hitting 60 million. You're going to have quarterbacks hitting 70 million. So, I'm not surprised that he got that much. I think that the Cardinals, they definitely had to pay up for him, because who else are going to get to replace the kind of production that Kyler Murray gives you? You're not going to start over with the rookie. Deshaun Watson is in Cleveland now. Other quarterbacks are gone. You're not going to replace him with Jimmy Garoppolo, obviously. That would be a sizable downgrade. So the Cardinals, it was a no-brainer. They had to keep him. If they didn't, it would be the stupidest decision in franchise history. You might as well just move the franchise elsewhere. But you had to keep him, and congratulations to Kyler Murray on the contract, and looking forward to the Niners and Cardinals games, because like you mentioned, Loro, Trey Lance and Kyle Shanahan versus Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray, it's going to be electric fun games. And I hope that every game, it's on Sunday Night Football, or it's on Monday Night Football, or even Thursday Night Football, with the best of the best calling the games, because it's going to be so much fun, and it's going to be shootouts after shootouts after shootouts after shootouts in those games between the Niners and the Cardinals. And here's the thing. I don't know how Arizona ranks this season, because you do have the Rams atop the NFC West. You have Casey's, or you have my Niners as well. So, I don't really know. Like, I could see Arizona being third, but I could also see them winning the division, because that NFC West is just so dang tough. So, but congratulations to Kyler Murray on getting paid. Well deserved.
Yeah, well deserved there. Like you said, I'm looking forward to Cardinals and 49ers, but also Mahomes versus Murray. That is going to be one heck of a game come week one. I'm looking forward to potentially watching that game. But Chardot, I'm going to go to you on this. I mean, both Isaiah and Chardot's Niners are going to be facing a lot of Kyler Murray in the future years. And Chardot, what is your thoughts on Kyler Murray getting that extension in Arizona?
I mean, Kyler Murray is an amazing quarterback. I got to give kudos to what he's done for this Arizona Cardinals team. He's led them to he's put everything on the line, and this extension means a lot to him, and all the fans will love this and tell him how much he means to this franchise.
Well, I think he's the future of the franchise of Arizona. He's their guy going in the long run. That's what I think. So, anyways, now that being said here, the 49ers have given Jimmy Garoppolo permission to seek a trade, and the Falcons reportedly called the Niners to get an idea what kind of compensation it would take to land Jimmy G. Do I think the Falcons should go with Jimmy Garoppolo, even if he's traded? He would be a good backup for Desmond Reader, because I expect Desmond Reader to be the starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons over Mariota, just because I think, but aside from Kenny Pickett, I think Desmond Reader to me is a pro-ready quarterback. And I think that the Falcons are going to start with this rebuild with Arthur Smith and Desmond Reader. Do I think the Falcons is a spot for Jimmy Garoppolo? I don't really see it, just because I think Atlanta wants to go young at quarterback. I'm going to have to say, and I have to go out on a limb here. I'm sorry to say this, Isaiah. The Niners are going to have to be forced to cut Jimmy Garoppolo. And Isaiah, I'm going to go to you on this one here. What is your takeaways on the Niners seeking a trade? But I'm sorry to tell you this, man, that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be, I think he's going to be a cut.
Well, The Bay Area yesterday officially became Trey area because it's now the Trey Lance show in San Francisco. If it wasn't clear then, it's clear now that Trey Lance is going to be the guy. I don't even think Jimmy Garoppolo, from what I read, is even going to report to training camp because he's still injured. He's still recovering from that shoulder surgery that he had, I believe, a couple of months after the season ended. So I don't think we're even going to see him at training camp. So it's going to be Trey Lance. It's going to be the Trey Lance show. I'm excited for it. Can't wait to see what the rookie brings. And I think we're going to see a better version of Trey Lance because he was injured last year. He had that finger injury. I think it was on his throwing hand, which really affected him throwing wise. So I think we'll see a better version of Trey Lance. As far as Jimmy G is concerned, I'm not surprised because you don't want him to be around the team to cause distractions. You don't want him to be around the team to practice and maybe play in preseason games and then get hurt, and then you obviously then can't cut him or you can't trade him and get value back because he's going to be injured. So I think it's a good move by John Lynch and the 49ers to keep him away from the team and let him seek a trade. Are they going to get a trade? I don't know. The Falcons thing is really, really interesting because, like you said, Loro, I thought Atlanta wanted to go young, but it seems like they want to do what the Niners did with Trey Lance or the Chiefs did with Patrick Mahomes, and that is, sit the rookie quarterback for a year, let him learn, and then give him the reins after the veteran starting quarterback, takes over for a year and becomes that bridge guy. So Atlanta seems like a very interesting place because they do run the same offense that they run in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan and Arthur Smith. So do I see it? I don't know, but it is very interesting that the Falcons are interested in Jimmy G. I never expected that, but for all the other places that I could see Jimmy Garoppolo going, I think there's only one place, or no, there's two. Seattle, because Seattle, are they really going to start Drew Lock or Geno Smith? I don't know if the fans would be in love with that. I could see it there, but then again, I don't know if you can trade him within. I mean, you could trade him within the division, but it's not really likely. And also Cleveland, I could see it if Deshaun Watson gets suspended for a year because that is a guy that is a serviceable, quarterback that could, win you like 9 or 10 games a season with the right system around him. So those are the places that I could see Garoppolo going, if not Atlanta.
Want to welcome Ben Hurst here. So Ben, welcome to the show. I'm gonna ask you this. So the 49ers have given Jimmy Garoppolo permission to get traded. And where do you think he can get traded to?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you all for having me on this fine Friday evening. And yeah, I'll talk about the disaster in a little bit, but for now, I'll go talk about this Jimmy G news. Yeah, I'm good for Jimmy. Of course, as a Patriot fan myself, I wish Jimmy well in terms of trying to find the right place. And I know for Isaiah, for his 49ers, he did a fine job over there, at least for the time being. But we know that Trey Lance is error now. So, yeah, I think we'll kind of see in terms of what team will go out there and try to find him. Personally, I think Cleveland could be very enticing still just because of Deshaun Watson. I think it's probably going to be out almost half the season. I think that from just reports I've been kind of listening, hearing, whatever, it's probably going to be almost half the season. If not, we'll have to kind of see about that. But I think them or Seattle. Yes, Isaiah, I know the Drew Lock stuff that you put on. I think that Jimmy Garoppolo and Drew Lock could still compete for a potential starting job, or whoever the starting quarterback is over there in Seattle. Maybe the Giants. I know that the Giants could be a very big sleeper for Jimmy G. I think that Daniel Jones still has a very big question mark for the future for him, and I still think that maybe him and Jimmy can kind of have a quarterback battle down the road here and maybe see how things go. Because I think really, if you look at kind of the market here for quarterbacks, I think that pretty much all of them are pretty much set at this point in time before training camp. So really kind of the only teams that I kind of still see that might have some question marks, honestly, are Cleveland. I know that they did sign, I believe, Josh Rosen, or they're looking at AJ McCarron or something. So there might be some other alternatives outside of Deshaun Watson. But I do think Jimmy G can maybe look at a team like Cleveland or Seattle. But really, whatever team just kind of needs a quarterback at this point in time.
You're absolutely right, Ben. And then I'm going to go to Chardol here. I mean, talk about Jimmy G. He's given permission now to seek a trade. Where do you think he lands?
I mean, for Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, I wish him, like, whichever team he goes to, I wish him the best of luck wherever he goes. I mean, I don't know. I don't have a specific team that I want him to go to. I just like, he can go to either Cleveland or Seattle, or whichever team in the market that needs a quarterback. So I'm just looking forward to wherever he goes.
Yeah, same here. So anyways,
One more
Ben,
thing,
you wanted
Isaiah,
to...
sorry to cut you off. One more team that I forgot. The Houston Texans. I think that the Houston Texans are a very decent option because Nick Casario is there too. And Jimmy G and Nick Casario have that New England connection from the past. So I do think that also potentially is an option.
Yeah, so anyways, now we'll go back to the comment section here. As Casey King says, as a Rams fan, he will as a Rams fan, it's a good move. And locking up Kyler, and he'll give them that. And then anyways, he says Jimmy G will end up getting traded. And they will sure have a hard time trading him. And he also mentions, Isaiah, you giving up on your boy Drew Lock? You want to answer that?
Not yet, not yet. I spent a couple weeks in Seattle. I was very mesmerized by that place. It's a really beautiful place, and I went to Lumen Field, and I was trying to find some Drew Lock gear when I was there in Seattle at Lumen Field. Sadly, I couldn't. Ended up getting myself a Seahawks mug, but I think the Seahawks, and I know we're not talking about the Seahawks quarterback battle, but the Seahawks would be foolish to start Geno Smith over Drew Lock just because Drew Lock is young. Drew Lock's got potential. He's got talent. You've already seen what you got out of Geno Smith. Just start Drew Lock if you don't get Jimmy Garoppolo. Just start him. See what he does in a new system and a new change of scenery. And maybe he'll work for you. Maybe he won't. But, just see what you have in him.
You're absolutely right. So anyways, with that being said here, let's talk about this. Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a new weapon on offense as they signed veteran tight end Kyle Rudolph to a one-year deal. Do I like the signing? Do I dislike it? I think it's a good signing for Tom Brady. I think talk about Tom Brady and the Bucs needing to get somebody to replace Gronk on the roster. So anyways, I'm going to start with you, Ben, on this. Anyways, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here. What is your reaction to Kyler Murray's extension with the Cards? And do you like or dislike the signee of Kyle Rudolph to play with Tom Brady and the Bucs?
Yeah, I do think that it was a very good signing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think, whether Gronk will, fake retire again or whatever, that the Bucs still needed some tight end help. Of course, they moved on from, as of right now, they don't have Gronk, and they also don't have OJ Howard on that roster. So really, outside of Cameron Brate, they're really kind of relying on a lot of rookies, and really a lot of Brady's kind of his game for a while has been using and utilizing the tight ends. So obviously, any help that he can really get. Yes, I understand they have a ton of great weapons on the outside with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, but using a lot of the middle of the field is a huge part of your offense. And yes, Kyle Rudolph might not be the same tight end he might used to be, but he just adds an extra piece to that team. And maybe now that they can use more of the two tight end sets that Brady's accustomed to. And obviously, that just opens more of a playbook for an offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, Rudolph's a very good overall player. He's a very good guy in the red zone. He can use the ball too. So, I really like this move, and it's kind of a low risk, high reward. You're not going to obviously cost the bank for him, and obviously unload a lot of your overall pieces to kind of move on from him. So I do like it a lot.
And then also I wanted to ask you about the Kyler Murray extension since you're on here. What is your takeaways on the Arizona Cardinals extending Kyler Murray?
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit of overpaid, honestly. I do like Kyler Murray as a player, as a quarterback. I think he's very electric. But when I saw the amount of money that the Cardinals gave him, and to put him essentially in the same conversation as a guy like Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen, it's a little extreme in terms of how much they really gave to him. Because now if you're Arizona and say Kyler just, really to me, Kyler Murray is, of course, a very good quarterback during the regular season. But he hasn't shown, at least to me, when they've gone to the postseason, if he's been able to kind of go into the next hump. Do I think he's a very good quarterback? I think he's a very good quarterback, but the way that they paid him, I think was very extreme. I do think that they're just kind of looking at the situation and pretty much saying, well, what essentially is our next answer? And pretty much Kyler is pretty much telling the organization that I want to be here for the long term. So they pretty much paid him, and they wanted to pay him all the money. But now this is going to be really enticing to a guy like a Lamar Jackson, who of course is going to be coming up with his payday soon. And you look at a guy like a Joe Burrow. A lot of these type of guys now are kind of looking at that type of deal for a guy like Kyler Murray. A very young quarterbacks, especially. You'll kind of already see a lot of other quarterbacks, start to make a lot of that money. So I'm happy for Kyler. Really like Kyler overall as a player, a very good athlete. I just don't think that the money that they paid him was worth to overall his caliber, at least for now.
All right. With that being said here, let's go to Chardol. And Chardol, wanted to ask you this. What is your thoughts on on Kyle Rudolph going to the Tampa Bay Bucs to play with Tom Brady?
I mean, I think this is a big move for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to sign veteran tight end Kyle Rudolph to a one-year deal. And I think he will bring depth to this football team, and he maybe even might win them another Vince Lombardi trophy in the near future.
That could happen. And I'll go to you. What is your thoughts on Kyle Rudolph being a Tampa Bay Buc?
I think this is actually one of the most underrated moves of the offseason because Kyle Rudolph, he's a very underrated pass catcher. He's a really good blocker as well. He doesn't give you that type of offensive production that Rob Gronkowski would have given you, but he's not that bad when it comes to catching the football. And I think that, with Tom Brady at the helm, with all the weapons that they have, he will probably get a lot more targets and a lot more touchdowns, especially in the red zone, than a lot of people think that he's going to get. So I do like this move. I think that he's going to help them a lot. And I like the move for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I like them. I like the move too. So, anyways, with that being said, here now, let's talk some baseball here. So we have a game update for you as the Los Angeles Dodgers are still tied with the San Francisco Giants at 1-1. Last night, the Dodgers beat the Giants 9-6, and we are in for a really good finish again between two longtime NL West rivals. We will give you the final score when we give it to you and when this game is completed. Right now, Max Muncy is at the plate here and takes ball one, and we'll tell you the final score when we know that. Anyways, I'll go to Ben. I mean, I know he has the Boston Red Sox hat on and talk about the Boston Red Sox getting shellacked by the Toronto Blue Jays by the final of 27-4. To me, that's a football score. But in baseball, the Red Sox just got pummeled, and they just didn't have it.
No,
I mean,
actually, it was worse. It was actually 28-5, I believe. That was the final score.
It's
Not
the same. It's the same pretty much shit. So.
Pretty much, yeah.
yeah, so talking about this embarrassing loss for the Boston Red Sox. I mean, Toronto has a great lineup, but Boston has too. But I just think that Boston just got steamrolled tonight in Fenway Park. And I was kind of thinking that if it was Alek Manoah on the mound, I was thinking that the Blue Jays would have just shut out Boston with their starting staff. I'm going to go to Ben on this one. I mean, Ben, how do you feel about this loss for the Red Sox? And this was an embarrassing game for the Red Sox.
Well, how much time do I have, Laura, on my hands? Do I have a lot of time here? I'm not going to go on full rant, but I'm pretty devastated right now, just to say the least. First of all, so when I found out the Red Sox were down by a lot, I was eating dinner at my family golf country club, and I got out of the place, and it was the third inning, and I saw the inside of the park home run from the Blue Jays, and I look at my phone, and I'm like, yep, I'm turning my phone off. Listen, I've never been more embarrassed in my life. And I've seen a lot of embarrassment moments as a Red Sox fan in the past. But this, of course, was the first game back on the last 4 days for the Red Sox. So the Red Sox are still within reach of a wild card. They're now, of course, unfortunately 3 back. But this stretch here, they have 10 games. This could be one of the biggest stretches, not only for the Red Sox season, but in Red Sox history. Because you're essentially looking at a lot of the free agents that the Red Sox have. Whether it's Xander Bogaerts, whether it's Nathan Eovaldi, whether it's Christian Vasquez, whether Rafael Devers, after not this year, but next year, with the early reports of the Red Sox and Rafael Devers split apart in negotiations right now. And essentially, Rafael Devers essentially laughing at the Red Sox offer, which is essentially the same offer as Isaiah's old friend, Matt Olson. Right now, Rafael Devers looks like it's getting an 8-year type of extension, that's not it right now. So the Red Sox tonight, and I'll go into a little bit after that. The Red Sox tonight just got absolutely steamrolled. And they've gotten steamrolled not only tonight, but they got steamrolled the last 2 days before the trade deadline. So, they're not only – I want to see effort. I just want to see effort. And Isaiah, your old Philadelphia Phillies, I remember this rant from a couple months ago about how they just can't feel – how they look lost out there. This tonight was a big example of why I just don't know how to feel confident about the rest of the second half of this season. Because I'm seeing the same old stuff that I've seen for the last several weeks. The last Red Sox win was the game I was at, essentially having my heart going up and down because the Yankees had it for the taking. And the Yankees had no outs in the bottom of the ninth, and the Red Sox somehow got out of it. I mean, they shouldn't have won that game, but that's just the way that they have not been playing well against the AL East. They still have not won AL East series all season, and it's almost the end of July. Think about that. Crazy to think. The Red Sox have not won one AL East series all season. So which tells me, do I feel like it's just going to automatically switch on and flip a switch by this point in time? I'm sorry to say, but no. I'm sorry to say, I think that this team, you could say, well, they're only 3 games back now. And what we'll see the homestand they have after this. Toronto, they have Cleveland, Milwaukee, and I'll be actually at one of the Milwaukee series next weekend. Pray for me, because after tonight, we'll see in terms of if it gets any worse. I hope not. So yeah, what I'm really worried about is not only tonight and the effort there. but the future of this team, because this is just not going to get any better. It's not going to get any easier. So tonight was a really, really. I'm not saying obviously it's going to be the end of the season, but it could be really turned into something that is not going to be going well. I personally think that this team isn't going full sell. If you had to pretty much ask me at this point in time, you could say, well, August 2nd will be the determining date. Will the Red Sox be sellers or buyers? But I think right now, with the way the thing's been getting absolutely blasted the last couple games against AL East teams where you have to be able to be competitive, they're not even competitive right now. So I'm just looking at the eye check right now, and this team is just not it. I love them to death. Today it just got so bad where I saw a tweet from Adam Schefter and from Tom Brady. That should not be happening. Adam Schefter is screenshotting this Red Sox Blue Jays score. When has that ever happened with Adam Schefter? Never. Tom Brady looked at that score and essentially said, talk Julian Edelman, when the Blue Jays were almost up 27-3, 28-3, he was about to say, you ready for this story or something, this comeback story? I mean, I just don't know what to say, guys. Chardol, I got your text about the Red Sox getting annihilated. I got a lot of, stuff on social media. Just, I'm fully embarrassed. I don't know where things go from here. I hope it doesn't go any worse. It can't be any worse after tonight. I hope they just kind of turn, whatever film, whatever thing and just kind of flush it down, because this is a very unusual thing, and this is a very alarming bad thing for my Red Sox.
I mean, it is, but we'll have to see how they're going to play down the stretch. Isaiah, I'm going to go to you on this. What is your takeaways on this Blue Jays Red Sox score? And it tells you something about the Blue Jays being a really good offensive team if you have guys like Vlad Jr. You talk about Lourdes Gurriel or Teoscar Hernandez producing. But they're one of the teams that are in the mix to land Juan Soto.
Well, Ben, if it's any consolation, I mean, my Phillies ended up getting blasted like 15-2 today by the lowly Cubs. So we're in the same boat there of, our team's getting blasted coming out of the All-Star break. But, when I first saw the score, like I was taking a nap, and when I first saw the score, I was like, am I reading this correctly? Like, I think when I first saw it was like 21-2 or something like that. And I was like, I could not believe what I was seeing, because you don't see this sort of stuff happen in Major League Baseball all that often. Like, you look at the box score of this game, like it's absolutely insane. Like 28-5, that was the runs scored. 29-10 for hits. Like, you never see that type of stuff. Whenever a team ever gotten 29 hits in a single game, and then you obviously have the 2 errors, but, this shows me that, the Blue Jays are definitely a really scary offense. And when they're on, they can be on big time. But I think for the Red Sox, I think to Ben's point, the Red Sox, they should be concerned. They shouldn't be like, panicking and firing their manager and trading everybody, tomorrow, that type of panicking. But they should start to be concerned, because when you get blasted by that much, especially when you've had 4 days off coming out of the All-Star break, everybody should be fresh and ready to go. And also you're at home, this was an embarrassment. And I think that the Red Sox players flush it down the toilet, because tomorrow's a new day. But man, it was like a huge embarrassment, especially on some of the defensive plays. Like, if you were getting blasted because the pitcher wasn't throwing the ball for strikes and guys were hitting it out of the ballpark left and right, then you can, flush that down, and you don't really have to, care for that game. But it was the defensive plays. Like, I think I saw one where I forgot what it was, but it was like a ground ball to right field, I believe. and the first baseman and the right fielder both completely whiff on the ball, and the ball ends up into right field and into and headed to the wall. So you turn a simple ground ball into a double and a triple, or I think that turned into the inside the park home run. But like, it was careless defensive mistakes like that just makes you go like, yeah, there's something wrong with this team. I don't typically say that often, but when you see that type of defensive miscues, it's like what I remember to my Phillies. It's like the Phillies had the same type of plays, and you could just tell, okay, this team doesn't care. They don't give a rat's ass right now about what's going on when they're making absolutely foolish plays that they were making on the baseball field. So if I'm a Red Sox fan, I am deeply, deeply concerned, not because of the score, but because of all the defensive miscues that I saw tonight on the baseball field.
And we're going to go to Taylor on this one. I mean, we'll talk about a couple games for you here. I mean, we'll get to the Red Sox in just a minute here. Taylor, welcome aboard here. Talk about the Angels starting the second half of the season with the Atlanta Braves. And it was an 8-1 loss for the Angels. And Shohei Ohtani got his winning streak already snapped here. And also, by the way, Cody Bellinger just hit a grand slam home run as the Dodgers are now up 5-1 over the San Francisco Giants. So we have a score change there. So Taylor, how's it going? So what is your thoughts on the Braves 8-1 win over the Angels?
Oh man, that was just an embarrassment to watch. I mean, the Angels, I had high hopes because Ohtani was on the mound, and you said it. He got his winning streak snapped because it was a pitcher's duel up until the seventh inning when Matt Olson, you probably know him, Isaiah, from the A's, hits a 2-run homer, and then it all unraveled from there. So, and come to think of it, Matt Olson, I'll bet he knows the Angels very well from his days in Oakland. And for him to do what he did for many years in the green and gold, now with the Braves against one of his old division rivals, that just goes to show that, he's anywhere, and you got to be prepared to play them. And especially when a guy like Olson knows the club that you played against for many years very well. And he showed it with that 2-run bomb. And then for Ohtani and the Angels, it all went south from there. So it's just, all I can say is this Angel club is just a major, major embarrassment right now. And I mean, what more can I say? I just want to see a winning ball club, but unfortunately I'm literally out of words to say about this club. It's just a major, major embarrassment each and every night.
Hey, Taylor, you could have it worse. You could have it worse the way that my team got embarrassed tonight. So, I obviously don't want to have any silver linings for your team, but at least I don't think you guys will get to the score that we did. So,
yeah, Ben, yours was a lot worse. It was like 27-5 or something against Toronto of all teams. I mean, come on.
I mean, I was just, before you came on, Taylor, I just was kind of saying that the last game that the Red Sox won, I happened to be at, and it was against the Yankees, and it was a game that essentially the Red Sox almost gave up, and the Yankees essentially after the taking, they gave it to us. But I understand that your Angels have been a very big disappointment this season. They had a lot of high hopes, but my Red Sox could be coming to similar boat, and for my team, that it was about 2 wins away from the World Series last year to kind of where they are now, especially with the expanded postseason. I'm pretty much, at least tonight I was pretty much at a loss for words for that specific game tonight. But it could be a lot worse, man. Let me just tell you that.
Yeah, for sure. And then,
Yeah,
of
and
course,
anyways, what are your thoughts, Taylor, on this game overall with the Red Sox and Blue Jays? Did you give your input on it?
I mean, there's only one word I can describe it. One or two words, 3 words rather. One-sided slugfest. And Toronto, I mean, I think Toronto and the Red and Boston, I think they've kind of started, to develop a rivalry in pretty much all sports except football, because Toronto doesn't have a football team. Well, they do, but it's in a league of their own in all of Canada. But like the Red Sox with the Blue Jays, all of Boston, I believe the Celtics have started to develop a little rivalry with the Raptors, and of course the Maple Leafs and Bruins in the NHL. I think we've got something brewing between the Red Sox and Blue Jays now too. So it just seems as if, and a little rivalry from opposite sides of the border.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, opposite sides of the border there, that's for sure. So, anyways, with that being said here, Steve Grogan pitching tonight for the Patriots. He said LMAO. That was an insane game. Patriots versus Argonauts tonight, according to KCK. Well, right now, the Dodgers and the Giants are in the top of the ninth with a 5-1 lead. We will tell you the final score when this game is over, but we will move along in that program as well. As let's talk about the Philadelphia 76ers, as James Harden finally got his new deal with the Sixers, as he takes a pay cut, agrees to a 2-year, $68.6 million deal to return to the Philadelphia 76ers. And you know what? I think James Harden is the centerpiece of this Philadelphia 76ers squad here with Joel Embiid. And I'm going to go to you, Isaiah. What is your thoughts on this move by James Harden? And I think that with this move, he definitely helps the Sixers spend on all other aspects of their team.
My thoughts on it is that this was a very smart move by James Harden, and I wish a lot more players in the NBA would do this sort of stuff to help their team. He took a $15 million pay cut because he wanted to win, and he wanted to give Daryl Morey and the Philadelphia 76ers front office more money to be able to spend to improve the team around James Harden and Joel Embiid, and that ended up being DeAndre Melton, who's a really good 3-and-D guy. He's a really good defender. They also picked up, I believe, PJ Tucker, another really good defender, a guy that can shoot the 3-ball extremely well as well. They improved the team around Harden and Embiid. So I think that with them getting all those 3-and-D guys, getting more depth than they had last year, I really like what the Sixers did this offseason, and it came about because James Harden took the pay cut. If he took the $47 million contract option that he had on the table, then Philadelphia would not be able to improve their club and wouldn't be able to spend to win a championship this upcoming season. So I think it's a very smart decision by James Harden. At this point, he knows that he's made a lot of money in his career. He just cares about one thing, and that is winning a championship. And I think that with Joel Embiid and with James Harden at the helm, and with all the 3-and-D guys that they have around them, I think that they can certainly make that happen this season or next season.
Anyways, I'm going to go to Chardol on this one. What is your thoughts on the Blue Jays destroying the Red Sox 27-5, and also James Harden staying in Philly?
I've never seen anything like this before, to see one team trample over another team. And the Red Sox got a massive thrashing by the Toronto Blue Jays. And when it was 24-5, the game was literally over, and there was no chance of a comeback to win the game. And they should definitely learn from this loss and focus on winning the next game at home at Fenway Park.
Yeah, you're absolutely. Go ahead.
And I think James Harden was I'm happy that he left Brooklyn, because him and Kevin Durant, him and KD weren't getting along, and I'm happy that he went to the Sixers to team up with Joel Embiid, and see how that and that trade ended up working, because he really wanted to go back to play for his hometown Philadelphia 76ers.
He definitely did. You're absolutely right about that. So, anyways, I'm gonna go to Ben here, and I'll ask you this question: what is your thoughts on James Harden finally getting a new deal with Philadelphia?
Yeah, good for Philly. This wasn't really much of a shock in terms of any type of news, but yeah, James Harden I think has pretty much got a really good team-friendly deal for 2 years, and it also helps Daryl Morey kind of help finding the right pieces kind of around him. So I think overall it was a very good thing for not only James but for the organization, and I think for the Sixers, it's going to really benefit them in the long run.
And what about you, Taylor? What is your thoughts on James Harden staying in Philadelphia?
Oh, this is definitely perhaps the biggest decision of his life, if not his career, or biggest decision of his career, rather, if not his life, because for him, like Chartle mentioned, he wasn't getting along with Durant and them in Brooklyn. So for him to get a fresh start in Philadelphia really, really improved. And now that I think he's developed a lot of chemistry with Joel Embiid. This is probably, one of the best, this is probably an even better team ever since, the era of Allen Iverson and who knows who else. So with James Harden, getting a fresh start in Philly, it'll be him along with, of course, Joel Embiid. And you also can't count out guys like Tyrese Maxey and Shake Milton. I think that's probably going to be your starting five right there. It'll probably be, well, I forgot one player, but definitely with Harden and Embiid in the front court, Milton and Maxey as well. I keep forgetting who the fifth guy is, but this is definitely going to be a deadly, a deadly lineup for Philly ever since. Oh, and I remember the other guy who had teamed up with Allen Iverson back in the day. I believe it was Eric Snow, but this is a new look Sixer team that I think is definitely going to be a threat for the NBA championship next season.
And you're absolutely right about that. But anyways, now with that being said, Ish Lancaster tunes in. He says, "Good evening, guys." And he says he hopes you enjoyed your trip to Seattle, Isaiah. And he says, agree with Ben that this wasn't a shock, whatever the biggest smack is. Isaiah's Phillies are eyeing Bruce Bochy, which we'll have to talk about more on that on Batter Up. And are the 76ers still the top team in the East? I kind of think Boston right now is ahead of Philly right now, just because I think Boston's more young and youthful. Philly has James Harden, but they have a good group of mix of young and old players. So that's what I think there. So anyways, now we talk about the Lakers now, as the Kyrie Irving trade has the trade talks between Kyrie Irving have remained frozen. The Lakers and Pacers have talks this week on a potential deal that would send Buddy Hield and Miles Turner to the Lakers in exchange for Russell Westbrook and draft picks. The Pacers and Lakers remain far apart on a deal, as the Pacers are reluctant and hesitant that Lakers send both 2027 and 2029 first-round picks back, while the Lakers only want to send a first-round pick. Do you believe that the Lakers will be title contenders with Miles Turner and Buddy Hield? And I think that if they got them, absolutely. But at the same time, both teams remain far apart. I'm going to start with you, Isaiah. You and I are both resident Laker fans on the panel. And do you believe that the Lakers can be title contenders with Miles Turner and Buddy Hield?
Of course. I think that if they just got Miles Turner by himself, They would definitely be title contenders because people forget Miles Turner is a monster in the paint. You know, this guy is a tremendous rebounder. This guy is one of the best offensive centers we've seen in the NBA. He's a really good offensive center, and I just think that he gets the credit that he deserves. And you pair him next to Anthony Davis with Miles Turner able to get more touches in the paint, with AD being able to step outside. I think it would be a terrific fit, and I think that Miles Turner would greatly benefit pairing up with Anthony Davis, and it would be one of the most athletic front courts we've seen the Lakers have in a very long time, because AD is, I believe he's like in his early 30s, or I think he just turned 30. Miles Turner is 26 years of age. Both have youth, both have athleticism, both are good shot blockers. I love that move. If they could just get Miles Turner back, you know, if you could get Buddy Hield, that would be fantastic, because it would give you a great 3-point shooter from the outside. But on the Lakers, I would not shell out both first round picks to get Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. I would do it for Kyrie Irving, because Kyrie Irving is a superstar. He's got his issues off the court, but when he is healthy and he's on the court, you know, he's a superstar talent. And those draft picks are for 2027 and 22. You know, we don't even, like, that kid that you're going to be drafting, he's in elementary school right now. So if I'm the Lakers, I would trade those 2 picks, but only if you get Kyrie Irving. Because I think if you get Kyrie Irving, it immediately puts you top of the West. I would do it for Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. I would only do that for Kyrie Irving instead. But if the Lakers somehow get Miles Turner without giving up both first-round picks, and only give up the 1 first-round pick and Westbrook, that would be a win-win any day of the week. And also, the Lakers, with just Turner himself, I believe, could be championship contenders.
Anyways, hold on just a minute here. The Dodgers just beat the Giants 5-1 as Jock Peterson has popped out. Cody Bellinger is the hero after hitting the grand slam. And just like that, the Dodgers take the first 2 games of the series over the San Francisco Giants. So I'm going to start with Chardol on this one here. What are your overall thoughts on this game?
I knew that when Cody Bellinger hit that grand slam, I knew that we were down 4 runs, and there was nothing magical that we could have done at that point to win the game. So I got to congratulate your Dodgers on winning this game, and I'll come back in game 3 of this series, and I'll get your Dodgers back after they beat my Giants 5-1.
We'll have to find out and wait and see on that. That's for sure. So anyways, folks, moving on here. Let's stay with Chardol here. Do you believe the Lakers can be title contenders with Miles Turner and Buddy Hield if the Lakers made that trade?
I mean, the Lakers could be title contenders with Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, because both of those big men would add depth to this Lakers team, and the roster would get bigger when they get both of these players. So I think your Lakers are going to be a very strong and dominant team to get both of these guys.
What about you, Taylor and Isaiah? I mean, what about you, Taylor? What do you think about the Lakers if they can be title contenders with Miles Turner and Buddy Hield?
Yeah, on paper that looks good, because I've seen Miles Turner before. He is definitely a beast down low, a relentless rebounder. Buddy Hield, I know him from his days in Sacramento with my Kings. His great outside shooting, and he also holds the 3-point record as well. But on paper, yeah, that looks good. But like I said, I mentioned this previously, the Lakers, they've always tried to build a bunch of super teams like they did last season, and it's backfired on them. So on paper, they look like title contenders, but in reality, I think this is going to be a total failure.
It might be a total failure, but anyways, now we'll talk about Danny Ainge and the Utah Jazz reportedly are demanding at least 6 to 7 first-round picks in any trade for star guard Donovan Mitchell. And my reaction to this demand here, I think the Jazz here are asking way too much. So, anyways, with that being said here, I'm going to go to you, Isaiah. What is your thoughts on Danny Ainge and the Utah Jazz demanding for multiple first-round picks in any trade for Donovan Mitchell?
I think that Danny Ainge is on weed right now. I think he's smoking some good weed out there in Utah. And I think that if any executive for any team gives the Jazz 6 to 7 first-round picks for Donovan Mitchell, they should be fired on the spot, because Donovan Mitchell, he's a great player. He's a great basketball player, but there's no way that he's worth 6 first-round picks. Tim Connolly should have been fired after giving the Jazz 5 first-round picks for getting Rudy Gobert, because Rudy Gobert is not even worth 2 first-round picks, let alone 5. So I think the Jazz are asking for way too much, like you said, Loro. I think that Danny Ainge is being over greedy when it comes to getting these picks. I think that he should try to get fair market value. I don't think the market is dictating that he gets 6 to 7 picks, and I think that any executive, and I'm talking to you, Leon Rosa, if they give 6 first round, you should be fired, because the only player that deserve to get traded for Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, James, and Michael Jordan in his prime. Those are the only players that you should trade 6 to 7 first round picks for. Not Donovan Mitchell, not Rudy Gobert. It's just utterly ridiculous, man. And all these Loro and Taylor and Chardot, with all these moves going on and all these high prices going on when it comes to the trade market, I think the NBA could be broken in 2 years, because if the Jazz somehow get for Kevin Durant first round picks, how about Kyrie gonna get 3, 4, 5 first round picks? Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. We're gonna see players getting 11 first round picks in trades. It's just ridiculous. NBA better step in and do something, because the league is about to be broken if these prices keep going higher and higher and higher than they already are right now.
What about you, Taylor? What is your thoughts on Danny Ainge being demanding about the asking price for Donovan Mitchell?
Oh yeah, he is definitely being I think he's starting to push the limits a little bit. Like Isaiah said, Donovan Mitchell, I'd say he's probably worth only like probably at most 3 or 4 first round draft picks. Not 6, not more than probably no more than 4. But I kind of agree, because I say the NBA is definitely going to collapse, like Isaiah said. If he keeps auctioning, then pretty much every team is. I mean, the NBA as it is right now, I don't think is fair at the moment, because we have all these teams who tend to get stacked, and then they also eventually they're not so good. And a perfect example of this is, I think, that tends to get stacked, not just the Lakers, but my Sacramento Kings. On paper, I've seen them look good, but then the guys have not performed up to their expectations. And then I could only imagine if they ever end up getting guys like say Durant, for instance, which I know is never going to happen, but Durant, Kyrie, LeBron, you name them, and then it becomes a total failure. But on paper, I just don't think the NBA has the parity that other sports have, because every team has to have at least one good player, maybe 2, maybe 3, but it just doesn't seem as if the NBA is has the same kind of parity that, say, hockey and baseball and all those others, and even football has.
All right, now we'll go to Chardol, and my question for you is, what is your thoughts on Danny Ainge's demands on getting at least 6 to 7 first-round picks in any trade for Donovan Mitchell?
So I think that Utah Jazz executive Danny Ainge is breaking the NBA trade market, and general managers around the league are not so happy. And I think he's definitely crossing a line here with how he's trying to manage this Utah Jazz team and get 6 to 7 picks. So I think he's not thinking correctly and not thinking to move this team in the right direction.
All right. Anyways, we're going to go on to college football. So, anyways, Georgia has signed head coach Kirby Smart to a massive 10-year deal worth $112.5 million. Isaiah, I'm going to start with you on this. How do you feel about your head coach at the University of Georgia getting a massive extension, and he is going to continue bringing on the legacy of Georgia Bulldog football?
First of all, I want to say congratulations to Kirby Smart and his family on this deal. It's well deserved. It's well earned. He deserves to be one of the highest paid coaches in college football. This man has done for the University of Georgia and for his career, it's truly remarkable. So truly well deserved and well earned. And I think, believe it or not, Loro, Taylor, and Chardot, and all the fans that are watching, Kirby Smart got 10 years, $112.5 million. He's getting about $11 or $12 million per year, or $11 million per year to coach the University of Georgia. Let me tell you this. I think Kirby Smart actually took a pay cut because he could have gotten more than just $112.5 million. Heck, he could have got 150. He could have gotten 200 million over the span of that 10-year contract. I mean, this dude in 6 years, he's been to 2 national championship games. He's won the SEC conference 1 time. He's been to 5 New Year's 6 bowl games in a span of 6 years. In there, he's won the SEC East Division 4 times in the 6 years that he's been here. He's doing what Nick Saban did early at the University of Alabama. He is dominating the competition in the SEC East, and for him to finally national title last season was definitely the cherry on top, and the thing that really elevated him to be one of the best coaches in college football. I'm so happy for him. And, Georgia's going to be right back in the mix this season. The East Division is not really that strong. Everybody, or a lot of the teams in the East, has new coaches. Tennessee, I don't really believe in them. Florida's got a new coach in Billy Napier. So the division's going to be weak. It's going to be, again, like it's always been for the Georgia Bulldogs. Can they get past Alabama? Can they get past your Crimson Tide, Loro, in the SEC championship game? They did in the national championship game. They beat Saban and won the national championship, but that's what it's going to be for Georgia. Can they beat Alabama? Because if they can beat Alabama in the SEC championship game, that most likely means they're undefeated going into the playoffs, and then when you get into the playoffs, all bets are off. So I would not be shocked if Georgia is in line to win another championship this season. They're recruiting at a high level. They, have most of their guys back from last season. A lot of the guys from the defense are gone, but, they always retool and reload. So well deserved by Kirby Smart. I think he should have gotten more. In fact, if I was a school right now and Kirby Smart was available, I'm giving him $250 million over 10 years because that's how great of a coach he is. But congratulations to Kirby Smart. Great extension, and he's going to do great things for the University of Georgia for years to come.
What about you, Taylor and Chardol? What is your thoughts on Kirby Smart getting a contract extension with the University of Georgia?
Oh, definitely, this is definitely big bucks for Kirby, because after he's perhaps the biggest reason why Georgia was able to upset Alabama last year in the national championship. And especially for, a college, one of the most, an NC2A championship contender for football in the University of Georgia. Definitely, he is definitely the biggest reason why Georgia was able to beat Alabama last year. And of course, like Isaiah said, can they do it again? That's the biggest question. But at the same time, I think Isaiah was right. He might have taken a pay cut because his contract could have been worth a lot more. But honestly, that's kind of, being a little greedy on his part. Like, kind of like in the previous example when you mentioned with Danny Ainge, just, asking for too much for Donovan Mitchell. I mean, he doesn't want to be greedy. Kirby Smart doesn't want to be greedy with, money, because at the same time, budgets are tight for a lot of schools, and they can't, and a lot of schools can't afford, some, coaches that even after we win a championship, money is still tight. And but for him to win the national championship last year, pretty much all of the SEC, like Isaiah said, is, with the exception of Alabama, they're weak. But, that's still, a decent amount of money for a 10-year contract.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And what about you? Chardol?
So I think this is a big honor for University of Georgia Bulldog head coach Kirby Smart. I think he has done many great things for this organization. He's led Georgia to beat Alabama in the championship game, and I think that he has lots of talent, and then he's shown it. He's shown that on the football field, and everybody was doubting him, and then he finally proved everybody wrong.
All right. Anyways, with that being said, let's talk about new Miami Hurricanes head coach Mario Cristobal announced at ACC Media Days that Miami will be doing away with the turnover chain and no longer having it around. Did I think that this was the right decision for Cristobal to retire that? No. I think this was already part of the culture that they were already establishing. What about you, Isaiah? What is your thoughts on this?
I think that Mario Cristobal, I think that this is a decision by Mario Cristobal, because when you think about Miami, you think about swagger, you think about, things that they do. They are the team that makes the tradition, not follows the tradition. They make the tradition, and they made the turnover chain. Nobody was celebrating getting turnovers by putting jewelry over their neck before Miami did it. And when Miami did it. Now you see other teams like Pittsburgh and other teams, not just in college but sports, celebrating their achievements by celebrating with like jackets, like the Blue Jays do with that home run hoodie, or the Phillies did with a home run hat, or some teams did with the beer chug. So I think it's a terrible decision by Mario Cristobal. I think he's making a major mistake. You need that swagger, and that's what Miami has been always now. And you're taking away that swagger when you're retiring the turnover chain for the Miami Hurricanes.
What about you, Taylor and Chardol? What are your thoughts on this whole situation with Mario Cristobal?
Yeah, this tradition, the turnover chain, I think he's making a bad decision to retire it, because I've seen this a lot, like Isaiah was saying, a lot of not just in college sports, but pro sports too. And another example of this is my Angels. The player who hits a home run gets to wear that cowboy hat as he walks down the dugout. Well, this is the same thing for for Mario Cristobal and his turnover chain. The more turnovers, I think it's like a superstition, but I mean, I'm actually kind of superstitious about them getting rid of it myself because because this will basically encourage them, to keep forcing turnovers and whatnot, just so they could keep adding on to it. And it's basically as if the like I've seen in not just college sports but pro sports too. Like I mentioned, the Angels with the cowboy hat for a home run, and I think I also saw this with Ben's Red Sox, or was it the Yankees? I don't know, but whoever hits the home run gets to sit in that bat card and take it on a ride through the dugout. But yeah, this is definitely a little superstition that I think I'm kind of feeling superstitious about myself with with University of Miami getting rid of that turnover chain.
All right. Anyways, now we'll go to Chardol. And what is your thoughts on the to decide to retire the turnover chain?
I think the University of Miami Hurricanes are making a big mistake by retiring the turnover chain, because this is a big tradition, and then it was used by this organization, and when they retire it, that it wasn't such a great idea by the team.
Yeah, you might be right on that. That was probably not a really good idea on that part. But anyways, now with that being said, let's go on and talk some hockey. So the Sharks have reportedly hired former Rangers head coach David Quinn to be their head coach. And Taylor, what are your thoughts on this move for the Sharks?
David Quinn, I think he's been he's the former Rangers assistant, I think, or is he a former head coach?
Former head coach.
Yeah, so I think for the Sharks to hire a coach who has a lot of experience like David Quinn, that's a big step forward. So, but at the same time, I still don't think the Sharks are playoff ready yet, because I think it's going to take like a few years or so, like I mean, if it would be a surprise if the Sharks actually qualified for the playoffs in his first year, like they did when Peter DeBoer was first hired. But I think this time around, it's going to take a year or two before the Sharks become playoff contenders again.
All right. Anyways, I'm gonna go to Isaiah. What is your thoughts on the David Quinn hire to the San Jose Sharks?
I love what the Sharks are doing. It's about time that they go on this path because, and I know Chardot's probably going to disagree with me because he wants to see winning hockey, but the Sharks have been stuck in the middle for the last 4 to 5 years. They've been too old to actually compete for a championship. They've been too good to be stuck in the bottom and get great draft picks and get great prospects to build their team around. So they've been like stuck in the middle. And when you're stuck in the middle, it's like, you might as well just tear it all down and rebuild because the end is going to come near and you're not going to win anything. So I'm glad that the Sharks finally are rebuilding. I'm glad that they hired a new GM because, Doug Wilson, he was there for a long time, but it's good to have a new voice. And when you're there for 15, 16 some years, it's good to have that stability, but it's also good to have that new voice after a long while, and I'm glad that the Sharks are finally doing that, and I'm glad that they're having a new head coach as well. So I like this new regime because they're prioritizing young players, they're prioritizing rebuilding, they're prioritizing player development, and the Sharks, it's about time that they finally went into a rebuild and started getting some young players and started building that next nucleus and that next core that's going to help the Sharks go deep into the playoffs and possibly win a championship, because the core of Brent Burns and Pavelski and even Joe Thornton and the rest of those guys, they were great, don't get me wrong, but they were really old, and the Sharks kept trying to squeeze a little bit more out of them. But it was like the last couple of years, it was like, okay, you just rebuild because, you're obviously not going anywhere for the next couple of years.
All right, Chardol, what is your thoughts on this? But we have some comments here as Ish Lancaster says he's 50-50 to be honest. Yes, it brings swagger and motivation to kids, but also it's like really need awards for doing your jobs. That's what he thinks about the chain at the U. And Casey is right. The Sharks will be in rebuild mode for a couple of years. So, anyways, I'm gonna go to Chardol here. And what is your thoughts on David Quinn being the next head coach of the San Jose Sharks?
I think David Quinn will be a great head coach for the San Jose Sharks, who was recently the head coach of the Rangers, leading the team to a 96, 87, and 25 record. I think he will bring loads of talent to this hockey team in the upcoming 2022 to 2023 season.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, and here's a fact, Chardol and Isaiah. The new Sharks general manager, Mike Greer. You may not know this, but Doug Wilson, before he became the Sharks GM, he actually played for the Sharks and he was their team captain. Mike Greer also used to play for the Sharks. And of course, to top all the history off, he's the first ever Black general manager in the NHL. So we'll give him high props for that. It's why, and I'm kind of, about the NHL's hockey is for everyone initiative. You gotta love diversity throughout the game, or in any sport for that matter.
All right. Anyways, now we're going to go on to some final thoughts. It has been a great show here on Sports Weekly. Isaiah, what are your final thoughts? Can you hear us?
My final thoughts is
Go ahead.
my final.
Go ahead. And we lost Isaiah. Taylor, what are your final thoughts?
Oh, yeah, this was a great debut for Sports Weekly. Of course, we're going to we've got a lot more to discuss, of course, on Batter Up and Face Off, and definitely next week when we do it all again. Got a lot of new topics, and then of course, if you tune into Face Off on Monday, don't forget I've got a lot of free agency news to discuss, and it's going to be a great show. While it's just one sport, but this is basically like the Sports Center for the IM6 network, and it's always fun to watch.
What about you, Isaiah? What are your final thoughts?
Yeah, sorry about the technical difficulties. But great debut show of Sports Weekly, man. You're right, Taylor. This is definitely like the Sports Center of the IM6 network. So, so excited to launch this new show. But what a great show, great topics that we had today. I'm looking forward to Batter Up on Sunday with myself, Loro, and the rest of the IM6 crew. It's going to be so much fun. But until then, man, you can follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and also if you have a YouTube channel, feel free to give our YouTube channel a subscribe, and you can watch all your favorite IM6 content on that YouTube channel. And I can't wait for Sunday because I cannot wait to talk.
Yeah. So.
Philadelphia, Philly.
What about you, Chardol? What are your final thoughts?
I would like to say it's great being on Sports Weekly on the IM6 Sports Network. It was a great show, and I hope this network is going to explode. You're gonna get a lot of subscribers, and I can't wait to talk more. I can't wait to hear all the different hot takes that you have to share.
All right, for the Asian Skip Bayless, Taylor Sean, and Chardol, I'm Loro signing off for now. We will talk to you next week for a new episode of Sports Weekly.
But I said, if you gave me Mahomes, if you gave me Lamar Jackson with his great legs and Mahomes' great arm, or you gave me Baker Mayfield, who would I want? I would want Baker Mayfield, and the reason why is because Baker Mayfield.
I really think that now this is the worst case scenario for the San Francisco 49ers, is that they're going to have to cut ties with Jimmy Garoppolo if I were them. What? Oh my God! Whoa, man!
In any event, Kyle Gibson is definitely my NL Cy Young Award winner. Rock on, Gibby.
And even
No way!
Oh my God!